Israel's Security Cabinet just made a decision that could change the course of the war in Gaza. They've approved a plan to take full control of Gaza City, one of the last pockets not yet under Israeli military occupation. After nearly 2 years of relentless airstrikes and fierce fighting, this move signals a sharp escalation in the conflict. But what does this mean for the people still trapped inside Gaza City, a place already devastated by war? And how will this impact the fragile humanitarian situation on the ground? Today, we dive into the details behind this announcement and what it could mean for the future of the region. Israel's top security leaders spent hours debating late into the night before finally approving a bold and controversial plan to expand military control over Gaza City. This marks a significant turning point in a conflict that has already lasted almost 2 years. The move aims to bring one of the last remaining areas in Gaza fully under Israeli control, tightening the grip on a territory that has been battered by continuous airstrikes and ground operations. The decision comes after months of intense fighting, with the military already dominating much of Gaza. But Gaza City itself has remained a complex and challenging target, both strategically and politically. With this latest approval, Israeli forces are set to push deeper into the densely populated city, a step that experts warn could lead to even more destruction and civilian suffering. As this plan unfolds, the world watches closely, knowing that the stakes could not be higher in one of the most volatile regions on Earth. Gaza City has long been the heart and soul of the Gaza Strip, a place where life has stubbornly continued despite the chaos around it. But today, it stands battered and broken. Years of relentless airstrikes and ground raids have left much of the city in ruins. Entire neighborhoods lie in rubble, with streets scarred by destruction. Yet, amidst the devastation, pockets of life still persist. Several hospitals continue to operate, providing critical care against overwhelming odds. A small Christian community has found refuge in a local church, seeking safety from the relentless violence. And tens of thousands of displaced families have set up makeshift tent camps, clinging to whatever hope they can find amid the chaos. This is not just a battleground. It's a city filled with people struggling to survive in conditions few can imagine. And now, as the military prepares to move in even further, the future of Gaza City and its residents hangs in the balance.
The Israeli government stopped short of calling this new move a formal occupation. But the reality on the ground tells a different story. According to the United Nations, nearly 90% of Gaza is already under Israeli military control or declared off-limits to Palestinians, effectively turning much of the territory into a restricted zone. Gaza City, parts of central Gaza, and a narrow strip along the coastline remain, some of the last areas not fully occupied by Israeli ground forces. Israeli troops are no strangers to Gaza City. They've been operating in its eastern neighborhoods for months, under the constant cover of airstrikes. But pushing further into such a densely populated urban area poses enormous challenges. Every street and alleyway is crowded with civilians, making any military advance complex and fraught with risk. This blurry line between control and occupation highlights the harsh reality faced by both the military and the residents. It raises tough questions about what full control means, how it will be enforced, and what the consequences will be for the people still living there. Israeli troops have already established a presence in parts of Gaza City, moving cautiously under the constant shadow of near-continuous airstrikes. But pushing deeper into one of the most densely populated places on Earth is no simple task. The narrow streets, crowded neighborhoods, and tight urban layout create a maze that makes any military operation extremely complicated. The challenge isn't just tactical. There's also the human cost. With so many civilians still living in Gaza City, any further military advance risks forcing thousands more from their homes. Displacement on this scale could push people into even more precarious conditions, stretching already limited resources to the breaking point. Meanwhile, experts backed by the United Nations warn of an unfolding famine in Gaza, as blockades and the destruction of infrastructure cut off access to food, water, and medical supplies. This looming humanitarian disaster adds another layer of urgency and complexity to the military campaign, raising serious questions about how much worse the situation could get. In the midst of this escalating conflict, promises of humanitarian aid have become a lifeline for many, but the reality on the ground tells a far more complicated story. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu's Office has said aid will be distributed outside of active combat zones, but details remain vague, leaving many uncertain about how much help will actually reach those in desperate need. For countless Palestinians in Gaza City and beyond, accessing food, clean water, and medical care has become an everyday struggle. At food distribution points run by international groups, long lines form as families wait anxiously for basic supplies that are often limited and inconsistent. Tragically, there have been increasing reports of people dying while waiting for aid, highlighting the fragile and urgent nature of the crisis. This humanitarian toll underscores the harsh reality facing civilians caught in the crossfire, people who didn't choose this war but are forced to endure its consequences every single day. Amid the escalating military operations, families of Israeli hostages held in Gaza are living a nightmare. These loved ones are pleading for a ceasefire, fearing that continued fighting could cost the lives of those still captive. Their voices carry a mix of desperation and hope, begging for any chance to bring their family members home safely. Einav Zangaukar, whose son Matan remains in captivity, recently spoke out with heartbreaking words. She accused Prime Minister Netanyahu of exploiting the pain of hostage families, saying, "He lied to me, he lied to all of us." This raw frustration highlights the deep personal toll the war has taken, not just on soldiers and civilians, but on families torn apart by uncertainty and loss. The hostage crisis adds a painful layer to the conflict, complicating any efforts toward peace and forcing leaders to weigh the lives of hostages against broader military objectives and urgent nature of the crisis. This humanitarian toll underscores the harsh reality facing civilians caught in the crossfire, people who didn't choose this war but are forced to endure its consequences every single day. The international community is watching closely as the conflict escalates, with world leaders weighing in on what comes next. Former U.S. President Donald Trump recently weighed in, saying that decisions about the future military occupation of Gaza are pretty much up to Israel. This hands-off approach underscores the complicated role global powers play in a conflict with deep historical roots. Meanwhile, Israel's security cabinet has laid out 5 key goals it wants to achieve before ending the war: disarming Hamas, securing the release of roughly 50 hostages, though less than half are believed to be alive, demilitarizing Gaza, establishing Israeli security control over the territory, and setting up a new civil administration that's neither Hamas nor the Palestinian Authority. But there are many unanswered questions. The Security Cabinet statement gave no details about what Israeli control would look like in practice, nor how the new civil administration would be formed, what role it would play, or who would govern it. This uncertainty leaves the future of Gaza hanging in the balance. Adding to the complexity, the cabinet rejected alternative military plans, including those proposing different strategies for Gaza, while far-right ministers openly call for permanent changes, such as the expulsion of Palestinians and the rebuilding of Jewish settlements. These hardline positions suggest that the conflict's resolution may reshape Gaza in ways few can yet fully imagine. The decision to take full control of Gaza City marks a sharp escalation in a conflict that has already devastated the region and its people. As the war intensifies, the humanitarian crisis deepens. Hospitals struggle to operate, families face starvation, and countless civilians are caught in the crossfire. At the same time, political divisions both inside Israel and around the world complicate any clear path forward, with so much uncertainty about what comes next. The future of Gaza remains fragile and uncertain. Will the military goals be achieved without further tragedy? How will the people of Gaza survive what many fear could become an even darker chapter in this long-standing conflict? As viewers, it's important to look beyond headlines and remember the human lives at stake, people whose stories are often lost in the noise of war. Staying informed, questioning, and seeking understanding are vital as this story continues to unfold.